What's up everyone, my name is Arctic and welcome to another episode of Titanfall Tips and Tactics. In this video I'll be providing information on Titan loadout setups with the XO-16 Chaingun as the primary weapon of choice. The Chaingun is my favorite and perhaps the best weapon for eliminating pilots. It does excellent damage at all ranges, specifically to pilots, although it becomes significantly less accurate at longer ranges, so I tend to kind of fire in bursts. When facing off against enemy Titans, I think the Chaingun falls somewhere in the middle of the pack when compared to some of the other primary weapons at your disposal, but it can be quite effective in open space, 1 versus 1 duels against other Titans, if you have exceptional management skills of your ordnance and your tactical ability and movement. Like all primary weapons, once an enemy Titan loses its shield, enemy players take considerably more damage when aiming for the crit spot, and this is something that I think is extremely important for the Chaingun. Now for some general strengths and weaknesses for the Chaingun, and we're going to start with strengths. I mentioned this earlier, but I think that it's excellent against pilots. You know, that large ammo count is great and it can be increased with that extended magazine, has a very high rate of fire, so you know, it's just great for killing ejecting pilots or pilots that are in open space. All around great pilot killer. It's great for Titan assists and chip damage on non-shielded Titans, and that chip damage gets even more sweet if you're hitting that crit spot. And chipping away last bits of health before a melee attack on doom state kills. So if you are near a Titan that is an enemy Titan that is pretty hurt, you can close the distance with an Atlas or a Strider, and you know, use that Chaingun to get just enough damage in so that you can instantly melee and get that kill on them. It is great for doing that. And for game modes, I think it's good, excellent for Pilot Hunter and Attrition. CTF on defense, hard point for pilot defense on specific points, and obviously I think the best Titans here are the Atlas and the Strider. Now for weaknesses, there's no AoE damage, so you must rely on your ordnance to deal that type of splash damage. It's not great at handling multiple Titans. I typically run away immediately if I'm in a situation where I'm fighting multiple Titans with the Chaingun. It's not good at initial engagements, so breaking that shield, you're going to struggle if you don't have your ordnance to break that shield. And then for game modes, I don't think it's very good with in Last Titan Standing or Hardpoint generally, if you're going in Titan locations or you're on a map that has way too many pilot entrances for a specific pilot-oriented capture point there. So I also don't think it's great for the Ogre because you can't close distance very well with the Chaingun. For personal playstyle recommendations, I think the Chaingun is an awesome primary weapon to use within the first 3 to 5 minutes of any match, and depending on the game mode can be a long-term weapon you want to utilize, like say on Pilot Hunter for example. Now if I'm personally playing by myself in Pilot Hunter, which is also applicable in Attrition, I typically utilize the Chaingun on my first Titan drop, which on average probably occurs around 2 minutes into each game. The general idea behind this is trying to utilize the Chaingun in the early game so that you can kill pilots before they have a chance to call in their Titans. So in Pilot Hunter, you know, that extends the lead before they can drop down their Titan. And again, the Chaingun destroys pilots, but against Titans, specifically multiple Titans, it doesn't handle too well. So if you can get a lot of control early on in the game and you have that Chaingun going, you're going to create a lot of havoc for the enemy team. Now for objective game modes like Hardpoint and Capture the Flag, it really depends on your style of play. In Hardpoint, I'll hover near active points that require pilots to capture the hardpoint, but have a limited number of entrances to that point, so I can ensure that I basically maintain defense that prevents passage into those points. And here's an example of what I mean. On Fracture, there's, I believe, 7 entrances, maybe 8 entrances to B point. That's right in the middle at Hardpoint. And they're all on, it's on 3 different sides, and you can hop down from the top. So it wouldn't be very wise for me to sit in that specific spot and try to D up on B with the chain gun because I have way too many entrances for pilots. Now if I went to A and I stayed in front of the building, it makes it a lot more difficult at A to capture that point with the chain gun because the pilots are going to be coming at you forward. They're not going to spawn behind you. So A would be a spot that I would D up with the chain gun on fracture as opposed to B. Hopefully that makes sense for you guys. Now in CTF, I think the chain gun is great for spawn trapping if you're playing offense, and if you're on defense, it's excellent at defending flags, except for the map training ground. I had a ton of success killing pilots with the chain gun while playing defense, which forces the enemy team to deal with me with their Titans rather than trying to grab the flag and then drop a Titan and then hop into the Titan, because as they're grabbing, they're instantly dead, just like that. So that's how I kind of play on CTF. If you're playing offense and you have a pretty good team, you can do some spawn trapping early game before Titans get heavy with the chain gun, but it really depends on your team makeup at that point and how aggressive they are. When I'm playing mid defense on CTF, I'm basically just trying to zone D, so any pilots that are coming into my vicinity, I try to mow them down with the chain gun, but depending on what state we're in during the game, I'm probably going to go to the 40 mil or the arc cannon in those situations. Now, speaking specifically about Titan versus Titan engagements, I think the chain gun is good at handling 1 versus 1 situations, but you pretty much have to have mastered the weapon and your Titan at this point, whether you use a Strider, an Ogre, or an Atlas, because you're going to have a lot of tactical ability and ordnance management at that point if you're winning a lot of those 1v1 situations. There's absolutely a ton of micromanagement that goes into 1 versus 1s with the chain gun as opposed to some of the other primary weapons, and if you're dealing with multiple Titans, you might as well just get out of there, try to get behind buildings, deal with them however you can, but you don't want to fight multiple Titans with the chain gun. You will get mowed down quite frequently. I rarely initiate an engagement also with the chain gun. I typically initiate engagements with my ordnance ability, and that's typically rocket salvo, so I'm rather close or I get the jump on an enemy player, just because the chain gun isn't very good at initiating, because you have to deal with that shield. So if you don't have an ordnance, you want to be very cautious about who you're selecting as a target when you're in these fights. Now, I personally like using the Atlas Titan with the chain gun. I've also used the Strider. I've found that the Ogre just doesn't quite cut it for me with the chain gun. I can't close gaps. Titans end up running away. It's just not very good because, again, chip damage is so important there. And if you're trying to kill Doomsday Titans, you're not going to catch anyone unless they're another Ogre. So you really have to think about where you want to utilize the chain gun and how you're utilizing it with your Titans. To round things out, I wanted to show you guys my complete loadout build for my Titans. These are not going to change too much other than when I cover each primary weapon. You guys will see some small variances, but I will be explaining each of my builds as we go along and progress forward in these tips and tactics videos. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, please make sure to smash that like button. And these take a lot of time for me to put together, particularly the tips and tactics videos. So any of your support is greatly appreciated. And until the next time, I will catch you guys later. Stay frosty.